Hey guys, so I'm gonna show you the first memorization method that is going to be so effective with these math flashcards, and we call it the 4D method. So here's how it goes. You get your new flashcards, they might look very daunting, and there's a lot of information in these. So all that means is be patient and go slowly with it. So the 4D method, as we call it, is what you do when you are memorizing new flashcards, and we do it 5 at a time. So I'm going to take the first 5 flashcards here, and they're numbered so you can see. And all you want to do is see the front of the card and see, do I know what's on the other side? Most of these you don't because you haven't read the card before. Some of them are math concepts that you already know. Cool. But for the ones you don't know, flip it to the other side. Take your time reading it. The first time, you're just gonna read the card and see if it makes sense. Be willing to go slowly as you learn these, especially in the beginning. And what you're gonna start to do is, after you read it, put it back and see, you read the front of the card again, see if you can say what's on the other side. It's like, you got A, and then B, and then C, D. See if you said it really well or not. Check the other side. See how well what you said matches the text. And the principle we want to go for, we call it the 100% standard. And what that means is that you can say the idea on the other side of the card basically exactly right. It doesn't mean you got every single word correct, but what you said conceptually is completely correct. And you can do it without hesitating. And you might have to keep saying it, looking at the other card, realizing where you messed up, doing it again, saying it, seeing how well you did it. Maybe found another little mistake, and you just keep going. You might flip this first card 10 times, and you might be like, what the hell, this is taking forever. However, I would encourage you to see it another way, and this has helped a lot of my students. Every extra time you have to flip is just you getting better. This is the work of how you get better, and the reason flashcards work so well is because they force you to fail so many freaking times. You're like, oh, I don't have it yet. But every one of those little failures is you getting better. And there's no other study tool that allows you to fail so many times within a minute or two. And so the amount of learning and progress is just supercharged with this old school technique. So anyway, once I get this card 100%, which means, again, I can completely say the topic correctly and without hesitating. That's key. If you hesitate, be tough on yourself. Put it back and do it again. So you can do it without hesitating. Even if you said the right thing, keep doing it until you can do it without hesitating. And so, you might be like, oh, but I know the rule. Yeah, but if you're hesitating now, there's a good chance you're going to hesitate under the pressure and stress of the actual test day. And when you study these cards to the point that you don't even hesitate during practice, you will not hesitate on the real test. So that's why we have the principle of doing it until you can say it without hesitating. When you finally get it correct, 100% standard, totally said the concept correctly and had no hesitation, it's going to go, quote, 1 deep in the pile, and that means behind the first card. And now we're just going to work on the next card. Read it. If you're not sure what it is, read the other card until it makes sense. And with these math cards especially, you might have to take a few minutes of just reading this card slowly, maybe even get out a pen or pencil and just, you're not marking the card, but just track along where you're reading. So you're seeing, oh, that's why they wrote this line. By they, I mean me. Oh, this is why. This is what's going on. If you read through these too quickly, you'll miss it. You'll miss the value. You won't learn the concept. This will be very frustrating. So with the math cards especially, you got to be really patient with reading it the first time. Okay, now go back, look at the front of the card, see if you can say it correctly. And you guessed it, you're going to do it until you can say it to the 100% standard. It might take you 15 times, who knows? But that's you learning. And so when you finally get it correct, 100%, this card will go 1 deep behind the first card. And we get back to this first card. Let's say this time we set it 100% the first time. Totally explain the concept and do it without hesitating. When you get it right the first time to 100%, it gets to go 1 deeper in the pile. So now card number 1 is going to go 2 deep in the pile. That means behind the first 2 cards. Before it was 1 deep behind just the first card. Now it's going 2 deep behind the first 2 cards. So it goes deeper in the pile. Then we get back to the second card, which we already saw. Let's say I didn't get 100% the first time. I'm going to keep flipping until I finally get 100%. Here's the key. Since I didn't get it correct 100% the first time, it's going to stay at 1 deep, and it's just going to go behind the first card in the pile. Now the third card, card number 3, shows up. Again, read it. Take a guess as to what's on the other side, and then actually read the other side. Take your time reading the other side. It might take a few minutes. Be slow with it. Really absorb it. Put it back on top of the pile. See if you can say it from memory. Keep saying it until you get 100% correct. Totally right conceptually, no hesitation. And finally, that one's going to go 1 deep behind the first card. All right, card 2 comes up again. Last time we didn't get it right the first time, so it stayed at 1 deep. But let's say this time we got it right 100% the first time. Now instead of 1 deep in the pile, it's going to go 2 cards deep in the pile. And we're back to card number 3. Let's say we didn't get 100%. All right, keep flipping it until we finally get it 100%. And now it's going to stay at 1 deep in the pile. Now card 1 comes up again. Let's say I got it 100% the first time. It's going to go this time, not 1 deep, not 2 deep, but 3 deep in the pile. So it's going to go behind the first 3 cards. And you'll notice that when you know a card well enough to get it right the first time, it goes deeper in the pile and it's longer until you see the card again. But these cards that you couldn't get 100% the first time, they stay up closer to the front of the pile and they're going to get more repetitions. So watch this video again if you need to. I actually highly encourage that. Watch it 3 times if you just want to crush it. Seriously. And you're going to get to a point where every single card of these 5 cards made it to 4 deep in the pile. That is when you're done with these 5. You're actually never going to do the 4 deep method again on these 5 cards. You're going to use the method I'll show you in the next video, 2-pile method. But every time you get to a new 5 cards, you're going to do this 4 deep method, where you're just flipping through the cards, waiting till you get it, all of them 100% the first time. Enough times that they all make it to 4 deep in the pile. Rewatch this video, trust me, 2 or 3 times, and you're really going to get the idea, and you're going to crush these cards. It's just a system that enables mastery and thoroughness. All right, I'm going to tell a quick story. Daniel Coelho wrote this awesome book called The Talent Code. And he looks at all these areas of the world that are uniquely good at certain skills, like Chinese ping pong players, Brazilian soccer players, female Russian tennis players, female Korean golfers, whatever it is. You get the idea. And he noticed that in these areas that developed talent better than everyone else in the world, one of the consistent qualities they had was they were exposing the students, in this case I've mentioned all athletes, but it's true across music, all fields. They were exposing the students to as many repetitions and failures as possible. The more times you fail, the more times you learn. And flashcards, especially when you hold yourself to 100% standard, and by the way, I didn't say it here, but say it out loud. Don't just do it in your head. Say it out loud so you can truly hear how well you know it. If you do it in your head, you will think you're better at it than you really are. It's not until you're forced to say it out loud that you truly can hear how well you know it. But when you're saying it out loud, holding yourself to 100% standard, and you keep repeating until every card makes it a 4 deep, there's just so many failures and repetitions in that process that you are going to know these cards so well, and it is going to show when you take this SAT and ACT. So that is it. That's the 4 deep method. Any thoughts or questions, reach out to us, info@growthwise.us, and we will be there for you. Thanks a lot.